Hey everyone, did you know that you can calculate the cost of college with our college cost calculator? First, you'll fill out some basic financial information, and our calculator will provide a personalized estimate for your expected family contribution, or how much you'd be expected to pay per year. In our Hub tool, you can then see your predicted cost at a specific school. Visit the link in the description below to sign up and estimate your cost of college today.
All right, now the next piece, so that's the student demographic section. The next section we're going to look at is the school selection, right? And so basically here, they're going to look at a few different components, right? So first off, they're going to ask for the name of your high school. In this case, we're just going to use a fake or a real high school in Massachusetts that you can kind of leverage. So we'll go ahead and add that in. And then they'll ask you to actually enter in your exact high school. So in case we have the Lexington High School. Okay, next up. Then they'll ask for you to enter in the colleges that you are looking at. So if you know the college's FAFSA code, and so the different colleges actually have a FAFSA code. So for example, Yale has a FAFSA code of 001426. So if we enter Yale's federal school code or FAFSA code like this, you're able to find the school and add it in directly. And if you want to add more schools, you can either enter them directly via their FAFSA code, which you can just look up via Google. It's super simple. So for example, Northeastern's FAFSA code is 002199. So you enter that in here, you hit search, and it's super, super easy to add schools to your FAFSA, to your FAFSA like that. Then next up, oops. Sorry. So these are schools that you've already added in here, and then you can add more schools. Now, in general, you're allowed to add up to 10 colleges at a time on your FAFSA. If you're applying to more than 10 colleges that are going to need the FAFSA, you need to make sure that you basically need to make sure that you submit to first 10 schools, obviously, when you submit your FAFSA. Then once you receive your student aid report, you can actually make that information available to more colleges, right? And so what you do is you basically go to once you've submitted the FAFSA to the initial 10 schools, you log into your FAFSA account, you hit make FAFSA correction, remove some of the colleges that are listed on there, add the additional school codes, and then submit it again. So basically you're going to submit your FAFSA, you're going to get a student aid report back in response, and then you're going to resubmit the FAFSA again. So that's that. So yeah, those are schools, but then you can also search for colleges via their search functionality. So let's say we wanted to find UC Irvine, but we didn't want to look up their FAFSA code for some reason. So we're gonna go ahead and search for California, schools in Irvine, and then we'll add the University of California at Irvine. Okay, and then you can go back to, you have info on the colleges, stuff like that. And these are the 3 on our list, and we'll kind of move on. Earlier, like I said, obviously you can add up to 10 schools, but initially, and then for each of the schools, they do want to know what your housing plan is, because that affects how much aid you can expect to receive. Schools where you're not going to be living on campus will then generally give you less aid, because obviously you won't have the cost of room and board. So now you've added schools to your list. Next up, they're going to look at the status. Now here, critically, it is the status of the student, so whether the student is married or not. So for the vast majority of you, I'm sure it's going to be single, but you could also be married, separated, or divorced or widowed. Now, again, because the FAFSA is used by both high school students coming right out of high school, as well as adult learners, they do have some questions about kind of more adult components. So for example, they want to know if you have children, or you have children, will have children who will receive more than half of your support. Basically, they want to know if you have any dependent children. For most of you, it's going to be no. If you have any other dependents other than your children or spouse, again, for most of you, it's going to be no. Now, if there's any military vets or folks like that in the audience, it may be yes for all of you. But no, you don't have to necessarily calculate that in. All right, then the next question is, the next questions are around some other additional student status components. And so here the colleges want to know, A, if you're currently serving on active duty in the US Armed Forces for purposes other than training, whether you're a veteran of the US military or any of the armed forces, whether you were in foster care or a dependent or ward of the court, were you an emancipated minor, and if someone other than your parent or step-parent has legal guardianship of you as determined by a court in your state of legal residence. Now, for a lot of you, this is going to be none of the above. The more common ones are going to definitely be these three, and then if some of you are ex-military, those are going to be options as well. Now, the colleges also do want to know if you were homeless or self-supporting or at risk of being homeless, right? And I do want to clarify that you shouldn't feel afraid to answer this question. The colleges will not hold it against you. In fact, they want to know more about your situation so that they can support you appropriately. So I would definitely say that you shouldn't be worried about answering this question. So I'm going to put no here, but you could also put yes. It just really depends. Okay. Now, at any time after July 1st, basically, so after July 1st of this year, did you receive a determination from any of these entities listing that you were an unaccompanied youth who was homeless, self-supporting, or at risk of being homeless? And so this is even if you don't consider yourself to be those things, or sorry, who determined this basically, right, for you. So it could be your high school, your school district, director of a homeless youth center, the director of an emergency shelter or transition housing program, or any of the above. And so you can kind of just pick which one applies to you. So kind of circle back, and you'll see that that question disappears if you mark no for whether you were homeless, right? And so you'll notice that the FAFSA is smart, basically. If you answer no, or you answer something that means that a question isn't relevant to you, it won't ask you to complete that question. Okay, based on the answers to the dependency status questions, you're considered a dependent student, means that you must provide parental information. Now, if you have a special circumstance and you can't provide information from your parents, you might be able to submit your FAFSA without it. You have to select, I am unable to provide information about my parents. So we'll see what that looks like, and then we'll circle back to say that you can provide information about your parents. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if you don't provide your parent information, you won't be able to get an EFC, and you might be limited in the types of financial aid that you can receive. So it's really going to be usually in your best interest, obviously, to provide information about your parents. So we can go from there.